Hi there, in today's episode we are going to be discussing website terminology as quick and hopefully as jargon-free as possible. This is going to be great if you are starting your new website or would just like to know what the bits and pieces are that you're working with your website designer. And it's going to be just kind of a run through of the terminology that we typically use more so for startup. We're not going to go into things like PHP or anything like that. It's going to be the basic building blocks of your website. Before we dive in though, my name is Yasmin Robles. I am the owner of Robles Designs, where we create drill-worthy websites and brands for entrepreneurs hell-bent on taking over the world. We do this not just by creating pretty websites, which we actually do. We create a lot of pretty websites, but we love to have some kind of strategy and a thought process to really solve your business needs, your business problems that you're having, whether that is to sell more products or get more people through the contact form. Our goal is to actually make you money because that in turn makes us money, right? But now let's dive into the topic. The first term we will talk about is domain. And this one, I find a lot more people know about it. And the domain is basically the address. You can think of it as the address of your house. And this means that it's where you will invite people to come over, where people will send you mail. And when it comes to your website, it's really what people are going to click into the browser in order to get to your website. The domain can end in .com, .net, .org, and there's a variety of other ones. I think there's even a .design, but you want to make sure you're thinking about your audience and how they view domains. So if you are dealing with people who are a little more old school, they might automatically think you're a .com. And so if you are looking to be, for example, roblesdesigns.com, and I want it to be somewhat snazzy and be robles.design, it might confuse people. And you want to make sure that there's as little confusion as possible because they might automatically be putting the .com when it's actually .net. I totally get if people have taken your domain, try to find a variation of it. I personally think it's better if you get a .com versus a .net, even if it's a variation off of your name, because if there is, for example, Yasmin Robles, roblesdesigns.com is taken by me, but if it is taken and I went with roblesdesigns.net, what if people automatically put the .com and went to someone else's website and bought from them? So I'd rather tell them, hey, it's not roblesdesigns.com, the business is Robles Designs, but we are roblesdesignsstudio.com. A little longer, but it still works. The next term you want to think about is hosting, and this is basically the plot of land that you're building your website on. So you have the address, the domain, and now you need a plot of land. And it depends on what kind of website you are building. If you are building it from scratch, you just need basic hosting. If you are using some kind of platform like WordPress, you might need something that helps support you in your WordPress needs, like a managed WordPress account, which a lot of people have them. If you want a list of them, let me know in the comments and I can get a list of hosting platforms for you depending on what your goals are. And there's some out there that just tend to be slower for websites and some that are a bit more pricey but really work well with my clients. But there's a lot of them out there. So hosting is basically that plot of land. Some of them do specialize in specific platforms though. So for example, WP Engine focuses on WordPress websites, whereas Squarespace gives you hosting, but it focuses on Squarespace websites. So it's their type of building blocks, and we'll get into platforms in the CMS system. But the hosting, it can be provided by places like Wix, where they give you hosting, but they also give you those building blocks as well. You can get hosting on your own. You don't need to pay somebody to host something on your server. If you do, usually that comes with perks. So I host people's websites, but I also maintain them. I support them. We have monthly calls. They get reports. I manage their traffic and just keep them in the loop of what's going on their website and what they can do to make it better. So you can get it hosted by a designer, but you would likely want to rather host, if you can do it on your own, all that work on your own, then you can host it on your own. Hey, so I almost forgot to tell you about the checklist that you can download. It is located at roblessdesigns.com/checklist. It is basically a PDF that you download and you use it to check off everything that you need on your website, whether it is already built out or whether you're working with a designer or if you are DIYing it currently. It's going to help guide you on what you need to do before you launch. So let me know how that works for you, and now back to the episode. Okay, now let's dive into platforms. So platforms are like the building blocks of your website. And you can think of it this way, where we used to own a home and our shed was kind of getting old. So I started driving around and seeing, because we could totally, my husband is handy and he can totally just build one. But I was looking around and I happened to drive to one of those big box stores where they just had the sheds out there and of all variety of sizes, colors, whatever I would want. And so they basically came packaged with all the parts and we just put it together. Some of them that I found even came almost, not necessarily pre-made, but almost there, where all we had to do was just put a couple things together and it would be created for us. So if you think of a platform that way, it is where you can get it from, you can make it yourself, so that is like a purely coded website, or you can get these building blocks. And websites like Squarespace or Wix, they provide not just the hosting, but also they give you the building blocks for the website. And we'll get into themes and templates as we go, but they give you these building blocks that you can build a site without having to do too much work or coding. And then there are other platforms that provide the hosting, but they don't necessarily give you the platform for you to create your website off of, but they do allow you to install something that's free, kind of like WordPress. WordPress itself is open source, so you can install it onto your server and create your website that way. Now, when it comes to your platform, there are things that are called themes, templates, basically these templates that you can utilize to create the website. And so now let's say you've got your domain, you've got your hosting company, and you want to, and let's say you went with WordPress and you want to you have installed WordPress, but now it's kind of blank and you really want to make sure that it's snazzy. So you would go to something like Theme Forest or Divi and install this theme onto your WordPress platform. And this will help you create the website that you've been dreaming of. So you can go in there and it's usually, these are drag and drop. You can add information. That way you don't have to, it doesn't have to make your website look like a blog. It doesn't have to, your website doesn't have to look like it was just kind of put together real quick. A site like Squarespace will provide you with their own themes, and you can definitely purchase others, but they have some pretty good ones as well. We typically, as a website design company, we work with WordPress, Squarespace, and sometimes Shopify. We sometimes get that starting off point. Let's say it's a Squarespace site. We sometimes use a starting off point, like one of their templates or building blocks, but we force ourselves to break that template, to add some customization, some snazzy things going on, things disappearing that are not innate to that template. And that's really what makes a website unique. But if you're building it yourself, you just want your domain, your hosting, you're choosing your platform and uploading some kind of theme or template to the website so that you can really make it unique. The last couple terms that you might need to know are add-ons, plugins, or extensions. And these are basically the extras on your site. So you can think of these as, on a Shopify site, you can add on, they use the word add-ons. You can add on in something that for Klaviyo, which would help with email marketing. You can add on something for star ratings so that people can review your products. For example, on Squarespace also has their own. WordPress has a ton. They call them plugins on WordPress, and it's everything from a form to a membership area to any of those things. would require a plugin. So WordPress calls them plugins, Squarespace typically calls them extensions, and Shopify calls them add-ons, but they're basically like these little extras that you can purchase. It depends on the place that you're purchasing it from, but for example, Shopify, it'll likely be some kind of monthly theme or monthly cost, sorry. So the monthly cost can range from free, it could be free, but it could be like 10 bucks a month, 40 bucks a month. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at all the costs. Typically for Squarespace, I have seen it be just a one-time fee, but it could also be a monthly fee. Plugins for WordPress can be a yearly fee, and some of them it's a one-time fee, but what I typically see is a yearly fee. So think of it that way when you're trying to build out this website and trying to see what the costs are going to be, what all is included, what plugins you need to use, what add-ons you need to use, and that way you can build the best site that you can. So in a quick recap, you have your domain, which is your address. You have your hosting, which is the plot of land. You have your platform or CMS, which is the building blocks or the basic code on your site. And then you have themes or templates, which are ways that you can even more like blueprints of a site where you can even more easily create an amazing looking site and style it the way you want it to. Then you have add-ons, extensions, or plugins, which can help you achieve extra things such as e-commerce on some platforms, forms on others, and a lot of other things, reviews, e-commerce things, filters, all that stuff. So those are the terms that you should really know when you're diving into building out a website on your own or with a designer, so that you can speak the language and understand what you're paying for. That is it for this video. Make sure to follow, to like, and subscribe. Do all the cool things wherever you are watching us. Check us out on Instagram at Robles Design Studio. All the reels that I make there are either educational or just kind of making a fool of myself. So check that out on Instagram. You can also find us on TikTok at the same handle at Robles Design Studio. And I hope to see you in another episode. Bye-bye.